Hello and welcome to the video. This is my overview and review of this Eachine E110 little flying helicopter that has a camera at the front. Now the reason I say my in that way is that you've probably seen that loads of other YouTubers have already had it. This seemed to be one of those things that Banggood sent out for review to everybody, and I thought I would wait until everyone else has done theirs so I can do mine. It's clear that this has been based to look like the US military equivalent, but it doesn't have an awful lot of those features. Let's face it, this is an awful lot cheaper. This is a toy grade helicopter with some very basic image transmission abilities. So while I show you how it comes in the box, let me very quickly run through the specs. So again, this is the Eachine E110. This has a rotor diameter of 238 millimeters and its body length is about 230 millimeters, so it's pretty compact. It's quite small, the height is only 70 millimeters and it weighs about 75 grams. Uses 2.4 gigahertz radio. The radio does come with it and you get a number of batteries with it depending on how many you order. Mine came with two. They're little 3.7 volt 580 milliamp hour batteries. Charging time for the batteries takes about an hour and it'll give you 12 to 15 minutes flight time depending on how you're flying. Radio controlled distance in meters is about 100 to 120 meters, so pretty close in. And the image transmission distance from the camera in it is going to be a little bit less than that. And it definitely depends on the environment that you're in because it's using good old Wi-Fi. Now, there's some quite cute features on this. Considering the price, this is quite a sophisticated bit of kit, considering it's kind of a toy grade thing. This is kind of the same cost as the stuff we were seeing 7-8 years ago being sold in kind of malls and supermarkets and other things in boxes, those kind of coaxial helicopters. This is much more sophisticated. This is a fly-barless heli. Sadly, all the links and everything are plastic in the head, so it probably won't survive crashes very well. It does come with 6-axis stabilization, so it is very easy to fly. Battery at the bottom just unclips like that. We have the power connections at the front and that's about it. Love the fact that the battery is charged via a USB cable and it has the DJI style, which seems to be the obligatory way to do it now, where it kind of shows you how many lights it has. You kind of turn it on and turn it off using the same way. You kind of press and hold to turn it on and off. And again, you get different batteries with it. Amazingly, there's also a very basic position sensor here at the bottom. You can see it just behind the plastic main gear. It seems to be some kind of very basic optical flow sensor. However, where it is isn't ideal because it has a great potential to get covered up by a piece of dirt because it doesn't have landing gear. At the front, you have the camera. It looks like it was designed to have some kind of gimbal on here, but it doesn't. It's fixed, sadly. There's a little orientation LED at the front. There's a little orientation LED here at the back. And then we have the little rear propeller, which has a little kind of skid at the back to stop you hitting the ground. No landing gear, nothing particularly clever. Do you like the fact they have included some spares in the box? Because you definitely need those. Helicopters, if they fall over, will make a mess of stuff. So being able to get a hold of spares is quite a big deal. In terms of the radio is super basic. This is the piece that was under the whole thing. So if you get one of these, remember that this is in there. This is actually a really good clip for holding your phone. It just goes over the antenna. I'm not sure that is an antenna, but it's made to look like one. Not a lot on here at all, really. We have a button for 3 speeds. Even on low speed, you can get some pretty fast speeds up. We have the button to take off and land. And then we have the trims, and you're almost certainly going to need those. Disappointingly, the radio doesn't seem to store the trim positions. Mine has a tendency, even after I've calibrated the gyro, to fly slightly back and slightly left. So when I start, I need a couple of clicks in each direction, and I can get it to hover pretty stably. Powered this side by 4 AA batteries. Again, all in the interest of keeping things nice and inexpensive. And that's about it, really. Now, the only other thing you're going to need to do is to download an app. Now, there is a link in the manual for it that talks about what it is. Let me show you which one it is. So here it is. Hopefully you can see that okay on my phone. It's the one called Sentry. And Sentry will connect to the Wi-Fi. It shows you the access point that you're currently connected to. But before we get into all that, let's power everything up. So we'll power the radio. It's going to beep and you get the light. We're going to power this thing by holding the power button. Put it flat, let it initialize. And then we rise and drop the throttle. And now we are connected. And there we are. We have a connection to the model. Once we have a connection, this is also then sending out good old Wi-Fi. So we need to search for Sentry. So there's the one for me. So we'll connect to that. Once it's connected, then we need to go back into the Sentry app. It'll tell me that I'm connected to it. And we click start. And there we are. We have our video. So if I put my hand in front, but you can see here, it is very, very laggy indeed. And you have some very, very basic abilities in here. You can't really control stuff. You can just really do kind of start and stop recording. To fly, let's just put this into this clip. This is why I like this clip. It's very handy for this, even with the big case that I have on it. To fly, all you do is you hold both sticks to the bottom outer side, and that will start everything. You click this button to take off and you can click it again to land, or you can descend using the throttle and away you go. Now, these are all sprung. However, I've got a throttle that sticks in low position. Probably better sticking there than anything else. But that's just a kind of indication of the kind of quality. It is very, very plasticky. So with all that said, let's talk about what it's like to fly. Surprise, surprise, it's actually quite a lot of fun. This is definitely, view this as a toy because that's what it is. It is a serious helicopter in any way, shape or form. However, once you've got it trimmed, it hovers quite nicely and you can scoot around relatively close in. Again, maximum distance is kind of 80 to 100 meters away, but at 80 to 100 meters, the helicopter is getting incredibly small. So just be aware of that. This isn't something that you're going to be able to explore, you know, a mountain hillside with, but if you just want to kind of fly over the local park and just have a look and get a bird's eye view, this is actually really handy and an awful lot of fun. So in summary, what do I think? Well, I actually quite like it. I think this is amazing amount of technology for this kind of money, because this is an awful lot of technology. Fly-barless helicopter, 12-15 minutes flight time, little Wi-Fi integrated stuff. It's actually really good fun. If you are fancying flying around and you don't want to buy a DJI quadcopter, or you just want to see what it's like to fly and have a look around before you invest in something expensive like that, this is quite a cute way to do it. And it's really interesting, the reaction that you get to a little flying helicopter versus a quadcopter tends to be very different, as quadcopters are considered drones, and drones are bad things. Now, there are a number of things on this I wish they'd done. I wish there was some kind of rotating gimbal. I wish the radio wasn't quite so plasticky. That would be quite nice. It would be good if they produced one of these where they were published the specs so that you could link a multi-protocol radio to it. I'm sure one of us will figure that out at some point and publish it so that we can all follow along. The orientation LEDs are a nice idea. Landing gear for learners would have been handy. The problem is as it descends and lands, it literally only has the bottom of the battery with these two little feet at the bottom. If it falls over though, before the rotors stop, it doesn't take much of a lean for the rotors to hit something, even in the grass, and then for it to flick all over the field. So I would make sure you're flying this and you have somewhere that's pretty flat to land. Lots of decisions here made primarily to keep the cost down, but I would be interested in seeing if they develop this with potentially good old analog FPV, or potentially even things like digital HD FPV, because I have one of my helicopters with an FPV on it, and it is an absolute blast to fly. If you can fly a multi-rotor, you can fly a helicopter. So the things to be aware of is view this as a toy. You know, there's no gimbal. The image and the video onto the phone that you have on top of the radio is extremely laggy. It's not real FPV, it's just too laggy for that, and it only really supports basic flying. There's no collective pitch on here. It's pretty basic stuff, but it does fly quite nicely. The only issue I found is that once you've flown it around a little bit and you've got used to it, you kind of start to get a little bit bored because it flies. You get some video and images. Once you've got the video and image that you're interested in, then you kind of want to move on and do something an awful lot more. But for this money, I actually am quite impressed. This is a serious amount of technology for this kind of cash. I'm looking forward to upgraded versions of this that I can use with my more serious hobby grade stuff here and use for even more stuff. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that if you're trying to learn a topic will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.